Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, GCP, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
Ryan,
and Peter.
Episode 81, recorded on August 5th, 2020. Azure and GCP, are you okay? Hey guys, good evening.
Hey Justin.
Hey Jonathan.
Hello.
Hey Peter.
how are you?
It's a Thursday. It's been an interesting day in the day job world. Very unique day. So that's what we'll deal with. But it's been a sort of busy week in cloud too. So we'll jump right into it with earnings as our favorite earnings season sound effect plays. Last week we talked about Microsoft. They had their earnings there a little bit early, because they thought they wanted to get ahead of Alphabet and Amazon. So Alphabet was first up, reporting a revenue drop in Q2 2020, the first time in the 16 years that they've been a public company, led, of course, by declining advertised revenue due to COVID. Wah wah. Revenue was only $38.3 billion, down 2% from the prior year. 66% of the revenues come from search and YouTube ads, and 12% of the ads sold on partner properties, while 8% of the revenue comes from the cloud business and 14% from the Android mobile app store. Quarterly profit was $6.96 billion. So again, I guess that 2% miss, we're going to just cry our way through the tears with dollar bills at Google. Google Cloud saw a 52% year-over-year increase, showing revenue growth is starting to slow down for them as well during COVID, which I think is just a factor that everyone is either so busy keeping their systems running because they're doing really well in COVID in the retail space, or they're laying people off and dealing with the sacrifices of COVID. And I think these numbers are a little bit weird in all the cloud providers because they're struggling with interesting macroeconomic factors. Google Cloud generated $3 billion in revenues, which is a 43% increase from $2.1 billion posted in the same period last year. Google Cloud was apparently one of the few bright spots in their earnings.
Wow, that is a monumental signal, though, that pretty soon these big technology companies are going to be considered less growth companies and a little bit more cyclical. We'll see what happens to their PE ratios.
Yeah, we'll be curious to see what happens. And Facebook also took a pretty bad bloodbath with their ad revenue down for them as well. So there's all these doom and gloom stories of that the ad-supported revenue model is dead. And I'm like, well, it's a bit of a stretch.
It's just mature. No, it's mature.
Well, and it's interesting, Airbnb is actually running some pretty big experiments about reducing their advertising spend because, of course, their revenues have been just absolutely butchered in COVID. So they've actually are seeing how they can survive without ad revenue. And I think Airbnb has a brand that supports that pretense that you don't need marketing at the same level. So we'll see maybe this is the time for a reset in this crazy marketing spend we've been seeing for years.
Yeah, yet another reset of how we normally go about our lives because of COVID. It's interesting.
Yep. Just one more.
Which, as an advertiser, I would like, because that would mean that the cost per lead for some of these things could come down.
I mean, I would prefer people still pay the podcast rates that we charge for ads.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't think we're that expensive. I think our ads are very reasonably priced for the audience that we have and the direct access to cloud professionals like you out there in the world. And so, we support ourselves with ad revenue here at the Cloud Pod. So we don't want it to go down too much. So
No, not too much. Just enough.
Not too much. Just a little bit. Just a little bit is fine.
2% isn't much though, is it really? Given that this quarter has been entirely covered by COVID disaster after disaster, 2% is not a lot.
I feel like in that first quarter, though, you're dealing with a lot of companies who are in that mad rush to cloud still, the ones who do need it. And so I'm curious really what this next quarter shows in earnings, because that'll be the real tell. Because if you're either dying because of COVID or you're doing so well because of COVID, do you have time to start a brand new cloud migration project? Probably not. So that's what'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, too, is even if it hasn't affected you at all, it's like, maybe we should just wait and see what's going to happen here. Is this end of 2007 again, where we all thought we were out of the woods, and then 2009 showed up?
Right. All right. Well, Amazon was next up reporting revenues of $88.9 billion in Q2 2020 revenue. Amazon revenue was basically up 40% for net income of $5.2 billion on that money brought in. North American sales were up 43%, and international was up by 38%. Of course, that's because retail is booming, especially e-commerce retail in the world of COVID. So that is expected on the Amazon side. But Amazon Web Services was a little bit of a different story. They saw their growth fall below 29% for the first time since they started breaking out the AWS numbers. AWS is $43 billion annualized run rate business off of this current quarter, up nearly $10 billion in run rate in the last 12 months, they pointed out in the earnings, though. So there you go. Interesting drop in world for Amazon Web Services, which it's hard to make those big numbers multiply multiple times. And so we're seeing that continue to happen.
Yeah, but the other thing is compare AWS's revenue, which, just IT outsourcing effectively business that didn't exist a little while ago, to IBM's aggregate revenue. And
That's true.
It's more than half of IBM's aggregate revenue. So it's pretty amazing what they've done in the industry.
Yeah. Well, IBM keeps telling us that they're going to win in, the second inning of cloud. So whatever their quote was. Well, we have a COVID update for you guys this week. Google Cloud and Harvard Global Health have collaborated on a new COVID-19 forecasting model. This apparently uses the AutoML technology of Google to produce this COVID-19 data with public forecasts, and now it's available all to you in the BigQuery interface or downloadable as a CSV to go use it in SageMaker, as well as available with their Data Studio dashboard and part of the National Response Portal. This is all built with a robust foundation combined with AI and Google's strong ethics background in AI modeling. So that is available to you in the public data set if you're interested in mining that data for COVID.
If only they would announce this in the keynote for the first week.
If only they had done that for you. If only they had done that for you.
Oh, that's great. I want to try this. Every single site I go to, I feel like they're shaping the specific COVID statistics they give me based on what they want me to believe. And I'm just like, I just want all of them. So
Just give me all the data.
Could be interesting. Yeah.
There's actually the one I
go.
follow the most is actually on Twitter. There's a COVID chart. I'll retweet it sometime. But they basically post every day the current number of tests, current number of deaths, current number of active positive tests, and it's been pretty reliable. They're aggregating a bunch of the monthly state data, so it's been what I'm kind of following. In addition to John Hopkins, who we supported here on the show as well.
Yeah, I played around with it a little bit. I think that the trick is you have to make so many assumptions to get anything usable. As far as like getting data, if you're trying to visualize it or answer a kind of question with any kind of query. And so those assumptions are what color, I think, individual sites depending on what they want. It's hard.
Information bias is easy to get into very quickly, and so you have to be a bit careful.
Is one of the assumptions like a little checkbox whether or not you believe it's just a little flu?
Yeah. What's the model do when you submit that?
Just a little flu.
It'll be fine.
Well, if you guys wanted to hang out with us here at the Cloud Pod, or come ask us technical questions and try to tap into Jonathan's really smart brain on cloud, or Ryan's really great brain on containers, or just my lack of information that I can provide to you, but I can try. We have a Slack channel, and one of our Slack people mentioned to me the other day, he's like, you should really mention at the beginning of the show. And so I didn't mention at the very beginning because that just felt a little spammy and you just fast forward. So right before the Amazon section, I'm mentioning that we have a Slack channel that's available on the cloudpod.net that you can come join and chat with your co-hosts here, ask us questions. We'll help you try to answer your Terraform challenges, anything like that, as kind of a nice community outreach capability for you, which we'll talk about a little bit further as well. But that's definitely out there and available for you. And go sign up on the website today, as well as if you want to get our newsletter, that's there too.
Yep, free advice, all your money back.
Yeah, exactly. Get what you pay for.
We're not liable for advice given in the CloudPod Slack channel, just to be clear. All right, moving on to Amazon. Apparently, they've extended guard duty to protect your S3 buckets. Anomaly and threat detection for S3 activities has been available to you in Macy since the beginning, but now it has been enhanced and reduced in cost by 80% as part of the Amazon Guard Duty package. Guard duty threat detection coverage beyond workloads and AWS accounts is to allow you to protect your data stored in S3. And this allows you to continuously monitor and profile that S3 data access events, usually referred to as data plane operations, as well as S3 configurations in the control plane API, to detect suspicious activity such as requests coming from an unusual geolocation, or disabling of a preventive control such as S3 block public access, or API call patterns consistent with an attempted exploit that they are aware of. This is all available to you right inside the Guard Duty console and can be enabled with a simple checkbox, which is pretty great. This is free for the first 30 days, even if you're already using Guard Duty. And then after that, it'll charge you money. But that first 30 days, you'll have an idea what it'll cost you. The per million events, it's 80 cents up to the first 500 million events. And then it has discount tiers after that all the way down to 20 cents for over 5 billion events.
That's pretty cheap.
It is pretty cheap.
Yeah, this was super expensive when it first came out, right?
Well, I think Macy is still pretty expensive, but this is just kind of like a small subset of Macy that they're making available to you as a super cheap price.
Oh, so it's not a complete replacement of Macy.
No.
Okay.
This is really about your access patterns and the data patterns. But if you want to know if there's PII in the data, you still have to go to Macy for that.
Gotcha.
I bet Capital One wished they'd had this.
Yeah. Feel bad for those guys, man.
Yeah.
They do. They just got fined a lot of money by the OCC today.
Yeah.
So they're hurting a little bit on that. But they'll get through it. They're going to get better.
Commvault is data management done differently. Commvault knows how important your data is to your business, enabling you to learn more about your data, manage your data, move your data securely and efficiently, and quickly recover your data to meet critical business needs. Available as a cloud-based software as a service solution, deployed on your existing on-premise virtualization environment, or as an appliance-based offering, their simple and centralized web interface lets you synchronize your data between on-premise data centers and your cloud environments, keeping downtime due to failures at a minimum. With Commvault, you can translate your virtual workloads to a cloud provider automatically, greatly simplifying the move to the cloud or your disaster recovery solution to the cloud. Commvault supports over 40 different cloud vendors, giving you the ability to use the cloud that is right for your business. To learn how Commvault can help you manage your data differently, save money, and reduce risk, head to www.thecloudpod.net/Commvault to find out more and schedule your free trial of their SaaS offering.
Well, as I mentioned, for those of you doing community outreach or want to become a community builder in the Amazon space, much like our podcast we feel is, you can go sign up for the new Amazon Community Builders Program, which offers technical resources, mentorship, and networking opportunities to AWS enthusiasts and emerging thought leaders who are passionate about sharing knowledge and connecting with technical community. And as of today, this program is open to everybody. So I did sign up for this for the podcast, as well as my Twitter feed, which I pontificate about Amazon things all the time. See if we get into it. It'd be interesting to do, and I'd love to be able to continue to build our community, and that's why I mentioned the Slack channel as well, just a little bit earlier. But do get on this right away because it does cancel or close out on the September 15th.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They got a bunch of different sort of areas of interest you can sign up for. I signed up for serverless and the ARM Graviton stuff.
Oh, nice.
I figured you would.
Yeah, I signed up
Thought of
for
you when I saw that one.
I signed up for security and one of the EC2 ones, I think.
I did security and migrations.
The networking one would be.
That was it. It was networking and security were the two that I did. That's it.
But it was networking and content distribution, and networking will be interesting, but CloudFront doesn't thrill
As
me
I've
that
done a
much.
lot with CloudFront lately, I'd like to get better at it. So. What about you, Ryan? Did you look
I'm
at
a
this?
slowpoke who read through it, batted it around, and decided I wasn't good enough, and so I didn't apply. But then now, listening to you guys, I'm completely convinced. So I will probably be signing up after the show.
Well, if they could apply,
If they can do
They
it.
get in.
I mean, maybe
I thought you
none
had
of us
to be
might get
good at
in.
this.
I mean, they might look at us and see our podcast and be like, yeah, we're not talking
Yeah,
to those
no,
guys.
we're good,
But,
yeah.
hey, we'll try it out and see. I think, because one of the things that I think in a post-COVID world, one of the things that I want to do more of is, some public speaking and kind of conference talks and that kind of stuff. And so I'd love to get access to mentors and people who kind of help out with that kind of thing. And so I think that'd be super fun to do. And maybe it's a good way to get into, onto a stage at reInvent and different activities. I think this might be a breeding ground to kind of get more speakers into their pool. So I think that's kind of cool.
I just want the big badge. Yeah. It
just
won't
want
be a big
the
hero
special-
badge, but
You just want the special badge that says you're a hero.
Yep.
Got it. All right.
I think I'm just hungry for human contact in a community. Like even if
that
it's
might be part of it
virtual.
too. It's like once you get to reInvent, you're like, I hate everybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. But,
yeah, really.
But right
That's how I
now,
felt at the
stuck
end
at
of the
home.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little bittersweet when they canceled it, even though I knew they were going to cancel it
Yeah.
pretty much for the last 6 months. So,
I felt the same way, and I wasn't planning on going either. It was still bittersweet.
yeah. All right. Well, Amazon has added another feature for Amazon Toolkits. This is the ability to use S3 features right inside Visual Studio Code in the Amazon Toolkit. You can access your S3 resources and perform CRUD operations on them, including creating new folder structures and different prefixes. And you can now use this as an open source plugin. So if you would like to make changes to it, you can submit pull requests, etc. S3 capabilities now joins CloudWatch logs and ability to invoke a Lambda function directly from VS Code. So good to see some additional capabilities. I was sort of thinking I was kind of excited about this because when I do a lot of my Terraform infrastructure as code, I put configuration files into S3, And right now I do that in Terraform, but I could just drag and drop into my S3 bucket. But then I realized that's not infrastructure as code, so I probably shouldn't do that. But at least in theory, it sounded really great at first, but then I'm not sure I have the most practicality to it as I thought I did.
Yeah,
It kind of is. It's just somewhere else.
It's a dev tool, though.
It's just an S3
Everything's around dev tools
GitHub.
and making things easier for the developers right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because developers are how you get to the cloud, so that's the key.
Yeah.
Make their lives easier, they'll get there faster, and then Amazon can charge you more money for that data in S3.
It's just the patterns. Like I want, more deployment patterns where you're not directly accessing the data and there's a promotion process. But, on the other hand, like I've had to make an update to, an object in an S3 and it's just so easy. It's nice.
Yeah.
Folder structures, though. Somebody's turning in there. Well, if he's dead, won't be turning in his grave. It's it's an object store. It's not a file system.
AWS Code Build now supports code coverage reporting. So this is the ability to now get daily reports out of your code build of your test coverage. Code coverage reports give you a detailed and actionable view of your test code's coverage and code build using the Jacoca XML, Simple Cov JSON, Clover XML, and Cobertura XML formats. The reports help you understand both the number and proportion of coverage for lines of codes in your branches.
This is a big add. This is one of the areas where code build has really, suffered behind, some of the more mature tools with advertising, with that being able to visualize this. And so like for smaller companies or for maybe even for larger companies, it's starting to become a more real option.
Yeah, one of those features you can't believe it wasn't there. Like, really? They didn't have that?
Yeah.
How are people using it?
I'm sure you could have configured a Lambda to, run a thing.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
the results.
Or you're using some third-party tool that would tie directly to the GitHub repo, and then you do it as a separate process, async. Or you just do like Jonathan does and not write code tests. So you just
Right.
test code. Yeah, it works.
If you don't
I
write
have
code,
I have a
it doesn't have
500
bugs.
test on the ALB. That's all I need. I'm done.
Is that even a test? It just sounds like an alert from ALB.
Yeah,
Hey, you
it's
have
Just a health
500 error.
check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a health check. 500.
Security Hub is launching 7 new automated security tools, or security controls, for AWS foundational security best practices, and 12 new controls for PCI DSS. I will not tell you about the PCI DSS ones because they did not tell me what they were. They just said two new controls for EC2, and I'm like, great, thank you very much for that, Amazon.
But they're amazing.
But they're
whatever they are.
great. You really need them. They're best tools, best controls. But the new 7 new ones I can tell you about. So the first one is if your Amazon S3 bucket requires requests to use SSL or not. If your SageMaker notebook instance is directly applicable to the internet, so if you can hit your
Ooh.
notebook from the internet, that's a
Yeah.
bad one. So
That's
that one
a
tells you
bad
about that. AWS Database Migration Service replication instances should not be public, and so it'll tell you if you've made that terrible choice. Although I don't necessarily know how you replicate your database with Database Migration Service without it being public if you don't have VPN in place. So I hear them, but as we'll see, there are some use cases potentially.
There are use cases for certain.
But
Sure.
maybe by public, I mean it's not 000 access. It's at least restricted to an IP. So,
But this
Right.
is just a visualization tool as well. Like if you're willing to accept the risk, that's fine. But this is just
Sure,
all about
yeah.
exposing the risk.
yeah, if this is your best practices, and someone's like, you're not following the best practice, you could kind of upset about that. The next one is Amazon EC2 instance should have an associated compliance status of compliant from SSM. This assumes, of course, that you have SSM rules. So just minor requirements. AWS auto scaling groups associated with the load balancer should use load balancer health checks, which I didn't know you couldn't not use health checks, but sure, okay.
Well, no, you can use EC2 health checks.
You
You can actually configure it. It's not default, but I think.
Yeah, sure. Stopped EC2 instances should be removed after a specific time period, which, depending if it's being used for DR or not, is valid or not valid, depending
1
on that
minute.
use case.
1 minute.
And then the last one is Amazon VPC full logging should be enabled in VPC, which is the fast path to spending a lot of money in S3 buckets.
Exactly.
Make sure you set up I noticed they didn't have one for set up a Glacier policy for your VPC full log bucket, but that would be
Yeah,
good.
they don't have the cost optimized ones, just the
Yeah.
security ones.
Just the security ones.
That's what we should do. We should create a new framework.
The cost optimization framework?
Yeah,
That'd be kind of cool, actually.
public enemy number one.
Cost optimization framework. Kafka.
Can we call it coffee instead? Kafka doesn't like coffee.
Ooh,
but
coffee.
yes,
I like coffee.
We're finding you a coffee at a time in savings. Ooh, that's a tagline. There you go. We just brainstormed this out.
Yeah.
Let's go the rest of the show.
off to the coding chat, to the whiteboard.
Yeah.
CodeGuru Reviewer now has a full repository analysis support. CodeGuru developer tool powered by ML provides intelligent recommendations for improving code quality and identifying an application's most expensive lines of code. This is now available across the entire repository, package, or source code branch. And customers can get automated code review recommendations for associated repositories for all code, not just the incremental changes under a specified code branch. So, for those of you who want to spend a lot of money on CodeGuru very quickly, you can now just point it at your organization and go to town.
Which language does it support now? I forget.
Java.
Is it just Java?
It's Java.
Just Java.
That's a shame.
Hopefully they'll support Python soon, Golang, or anything other than Java. Mm-hmm. You just give me TypeScript at this point. Like, I'll take TypeScript. It's fine. I don't like it, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Not going as far as C#, but TypeScript. Okay.
C# is a road too far, Jonathan. Let's be realistic.
Hey everyone, Jonathan here. I just wanted to take a minute to thank the cloud consulting gurus at Foghorn for helping make the Cloud Pod possible. These folks truly get it. Cloud consulting experts since 2008, they are premier tier partners with AWS, Google Cloud Platform Silver, and Microsoft Azure partners. From multi-cloud to containers to moving full production workloads to the cloud under the tightest compliance, Foghorn's team of full-stack cloud engineers have been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt, and are ready to share their experience with you. If you're in the market for some talent to supplement your team, visit www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. Foghorn, the promise of cloud delivered.
Well, up next is GCP and Azure, and guys, I'm a little nervous for them. I feel like maybe they've gotten the COVID or something because GCP has a conference going on, and we have 2 announcements, and one of them is just really a brag, and then Azure's got 2 small things as well, and I'm trying to think they forgot that they had to be announcing stuff, and maybe Azure is just too busy getting capacity under their cloud and doesn't have time for this, but.
They saw the TikTok announcement, and so they all downloaded the TikTok app, and everyone's just sitting there flipping through videos now.
That's exactly it. They're all watching TikTok. That's
Oh my God.
They've all lost their minds on TikTok. What a crazy story that is. I had it in the show notes at one point, and I was like, it's not cloud adjacent enough, but
Yeah.
that's a crazy story, and so I
Really.
But if they do buy it, we'll talk about it just for the fact that basically makes Azure have a very key marquee mobile customer, and so that might drive some interesting patterns in their mobile space long term, as they rip out all that Chinese technology that the government doesn't like. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, GCP, the first one up is a brag. So Google has broken the AI performance record in ML Perf with the world's fastest training supercomputer. Woo. Fast training of machine learning models is critical for research and engineering teams that deliver new products, services, and research breakthroughs that were previously out of reach for them. The latest ML Perf benchmarks demonstrate that Google has built the world's fastest machine learning training supercomputer. Using the supercomputer, as well as their latest tensor processing units, or the TPU chip, which we talked about here on the show, Google has set a performance record in 6 out of the 8 ML Perf benchmarks. And then there's many, many charts and many, many graphs that are a little bit in the weeds for us here on the show, but are great if you're really into ML.
And it only costs the world 0.01 degrees of Celsius increase.
Well, Google will be very quick to tell you how sustainable their data centers are. Yeah.
Until they throw away the servers. And then they rot in landfills.
Yeah. Don't ask too many questions.
Sorry. And then their new feature this week is Google is announcing a Certificate Authority Service, or CAS, in beta. This allows you to use a PKI infrastructure to handle device management, and this solves the hardest problem with setting up centralized or private CAs. Limitations exist of existing private CA technology, but Google highlights several that they feel are necessary to be fixed in the cloud. The first one being new use cases require a short-lived certificate that are renewed frequently, which in turn requires a high availability and scalability of the CA. The certificate enrollment processes typically do not support modern APIs expected in modern apps and CI/CD toolchains, which result in longer time to market and delays in adoption revenue. And they're incompatible with cloud providers' built-in CAs, resulting in customers losing a single point of management and monitoring. The CAS is designed to solve traditional emerging CA needs and can now be set up in minutes versus months. Some of the features for the new CAS service include the ability to store your private keys in Cloud HSM in FIPS 140-2 Level 3 validated HSMs, obtain logs and visibility and audit controls, define granular access control, scaling with confidence knowing that the service supports up to 25 queries per second per instance, and allows you to bring your own root certificate.
Cool.
Yeah, I can't agree more with their announcement on why this is needed. I just hope that it doesn't cost an arm and a leg like Amazon's offering does.
Exactly.
For private
That's the first
CA.
thing I did.
Yeah.
What did you find on the pricing? I meant to look it up, but I forgot.
The pricing's not available. It's free right now.
But it will be defined on GA.
Oh, that's right. It's in beta. Yeah, it's in beta. So when they throw the SLA on top of it, they'll say, "Oh, we're gonna charge you bajillions of dollars." But I just built my whole infrastructure on top of it. Well, too late. That's why you don't use beta services from Google.
That's right. Don't bite. Not yet.
Not yet. Not until you know the pricing. Sorry. Okay, that's it for Google. Again, they have a conference going on. I don't know if you knew this, but that's it for Google.
Yeah.
And then Azure
Crickets.
has a couple just that would normally have just made it to lightning round, but are here because this is what I have for them.
Felt sorry for them.
The first one is there's some billing changes in Azure bandwidth. So previously, if you were routing traffic around the Azure network, you would get one bill, one line item for the region that basically said Azure bandwidth. Apparently, they said that is not good enough, and so now they're going to billing in the database or in the report a source and destination model with increased granularity of inter-region billing data. So you can see that if region A is talking to region B, you can see that bill cut out directly. It doesn't, of course, tell you anything about protocols or ports or any of that kind of stuff, but this will be rolling out in September, which if you have automation on your Azure bill to process it with machine learning or some AI type of technology, this will break that. So go get that fixed.
This is a good opportunity for them to now use this technology to also break out their new network bandwidth offering, the premium bandwidth offering.
And then the ultra premium.
Ultra premium.
I'd really like just to see a per instance metric for network use. It's obviously measured at the instance level, so why not report on it the same way? It would be really useful for finding misbehaving servers or.
But typically in most clouds, you don't pay for inner AZ or inner subnet traffic unless it's traversing that side. So if you're recording it, you're not using all of it for billing. Do you actually end up with two different numbers? One that was a billing bandwidth versus non-billed bandwidth.
And would you really want like thousands of metrics in your bill for 67 cents of health checks or whatever it is?
Why not? It's already 10 billion line items.
Yes.
What's another 10 What's another 10 billion line items?
$16 to process. That's what it is.
And then the last Azure announcement is the Azure Monitor community repo is now available to you, which provides a collaborative space for where community members to share and explore Azure Monitor artifacts such as queries, workbooks, and alerts. The repo is public and can accept contributions, so if you have an amazing Azure Monitor script that you'd like to give us a pull request, you can go do that, and hopefully they'll accept it. Do follow the community guidelines for that capability. But if you're trying to figure out how to use Azure monitoring, there's examples for you.
That was a bit of an anticlimax.
Yeah. This is all they announce.
Like I said, I'm a little worried about both Azure and Google. I don't know what they're up to, but they're maybe COVID's getting to them. They're like, we can't just ship this product. We don't want to. I don't know.
Well, for Google, I expect they're sort of trying to pace themselves, over the course of their conference, since it's many, many weeks, and maybe the last week they'll come out with
I would argue that they've lost my attention at this point, though. If they'd done less time with more announcements, I might have been interested. So
I think I said it last week that I'm having a hard time, keeping it in the forefront of my brain where I remember to go look at their conference. So I agree.
Let's move to lightning round, Peter.
Elastic Load Balancing simplifies your AWS bill by introducing a new billing section.
What's 10 billion more lines in your bill?
It's already 40 gigs. What's another 300 megs?
AWS Fargate for Amazon ECS now supports UDP load balancing with Network Load Balancer.
Because that's what I want my containers doing, is not confirming packets.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the message.
Yeah.
I think you've used that before. I think I call shenanigans.
Yeah. That's the answer to every
Winner!
Yeah.
AWS Deep Composer launches new learning capsule that deep dives into training an auto-regressive CNN model.
Which is what President Trump said yesterday on the news.
CNN is fake news.
Now manage access to AWS centrally for one login users with AWS single sign-on.
The only login you care about is your single sign-on one, so when that gets compromised, all of your sign-on fails.
Amazon Aurora supports in-place upgrade from Postgres 10 to 11.
Which is the best Postgres ever because they turned it up to 11.
Yay.
All right.
Amazon EC2 on-demand capacity reservations now support Windows BYOL.
Until Windows announces that they don't allow BYOL in 2 weeks.
And AWS Firewall Manager now supports centralized logging of AWS WAF logs.
Okay. Yeah. I would have thought that was a out of the box feature, but apparently not.
What did they do before?
Where did the logs go?
In other
Just
words,
fell on the ground.
AWS Firewall Manager now supports centralized logging of AWS firewall logs.
Which I would have thought out of the box I would have gotten.
AWS Code Build now supports parallel and coordinated executions of a build process.
Hey, Ryan, the build failed. Mm-hmm. Hey, Ryan, the
Yeah.
build failed.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, the build failed.
They've all failed. All my feature branches. Because I forgot a semicolon.
And parallel, you got told multiple times.
Although that was kind of sequential, wasn't it? Hey,
Ryan,
Ryan,
the build failed.
build failed. Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose now supports data delivery to HTTP endpoints. Woohoo! In other news, Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose now supports data delivery to New Relic and MongoDB and Datadog.
Which means that they only supported HTTP endpoints. What? Great, Mongo. Winning every day.
Yeah.
Amazon Lightsail now offers cPanel and WHM Instance Blueprint.
You know, when Amazon announced that they were going to create Lightsail and as a simple VPS provider, the world said, finally, we don't have to use cPanel. Yet, you failed us, Amazon. Shame. Shame on you.
So if you join our Slack channel, I would really appreciate it if you could explain what cPanel is to me.
Oh,
I tried to correlate to Webmin for you earlier, but you
Yeah,
apparently don't
I
know what
got-
that is either. So.
Yeah.
So when you're on your next Linux box, you know, just install Webmin and then hit, I think it's HTTP localhost 8000, and you'll find out what Webmin is.
I can sort of guess by the tone of your voice I'm not going to do that.
I think you're really going to like cPanel. I think you're really going to like how you point and click in order to create a Linux configuration, which then
yeah,
becomes
that is my
obfuscated
Yeah.
into
You know, if
crazy
you
templates.
couldn't figure out how to type in add user, you know,
So
to
bad.
do a user wizard, it's in a web page with really bad security, and it's all there for you.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So you could actually, you know, you could correlate it to the modern day IBM tool, OpenShift.
Oh,
So if you wanted to deploy something, you know, like a Node.js container, perhaps you would go to cPanel and you'd say start Node.js, and it would install for you and deploy a terrible implementation of Node.js on your server, and then they give you an FTP interface that you could upload your web files for to run in that Node.js because you couldn't figure out SSH. That is cPanel in a nutshell.
But they already have like Elastic Beanstalk. What are they doing?
No, this all predates all of that, sir.
I
This
know.
is
Oh yeah.
this is well before cloud.
This is mid 90s. 1996 once it's cPanel back.
Webmin is also like a late 90s thing too.
moving on. Lightning. AWS Database Migration Service now supports enhanced pre-migration assessments.
The only pre-migration you need is don't migrate your database.
Yeah. Can't do that. Don't do this. That's not going to work. How's it going to do that in advance, though? Shouldn't it wait till it migrated half your data and then complain?
Yes, it should. That's how all good migrations go. What it'll do is it'll tell you it passes, and then you'll actually go try to do it, and then it'll fail midway through, and then you'll open a support case to Amazon, and they'll tell you, well, it's not supported. And then you say, but your migration, and they're like, oh, it's because you didn't download the new version.
Or it will succeed, but your app still won't work.
Or it'll succeed and none of your data's there.
Yeah.
Amazon Translate now supports Office documents.
I hope this means that we're going to get my favorite translator, legalese to English.
Shut up. That doesn't
Awesome.
exist. And if it does, shut up and take my money.
Yeah, really.
Right? I actually need the opposite. I need English to legalese so I don't have to pay lawyers.
Yeah. Auto translate.
Although my lawyer takes wine, so it's working out really well for me.
That's true.
And as per CNN, the winner is Jonathan. Except that's fake news because it's really Justin for his CNN.
Nice. You almost tied me, John.
Almost.
You two were neck and neck, and you got me with the legalese. Because all of a sudden I'm like, legalese? That's not a language. What's legalese? Oh, legalese. I I get it.
Yes. Well, that's it for a very quick week in the news because Google didn't do anything. So hey, if you guys need help, please reach out. We can send you help in COVID times. We have resources. We can help you. Oh, I have a rant for you guys though before we run away.
Oh, fantastic.
Have you guys been to the new Route 53 console
No.
in the Amazon console?
Don't say that.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So let me take you on a quick journey here to the Route 53 console. So it used to be, a list of all your domains. You say, SAS11.com, cloudpod.com, whatever I want. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to create a new alias record. Click into the zone. I get a list of all of my records. Beautiful. Simple.
Seems reasonable.
Perfection. Seems reasonable, right? And on the right, I could hit create record. And I would have a drop down that would say, what type of record would you like? An A record, an alias, whatever. And I would put in www, because that's what I want. I want a website. A record or alias to my F5 or to my load balancer, and I submit, and it's done. We're done. That was a total of 5 clicks. The new console was designed with wizards in mind.
Oh, no.
Not the good wizards. So
Like
you
Microsoft
go there,
Bob?
and
Clippy.
it's Microsoft Bob level. It's rough. Let me tell you.
The little office
so
paper clip?
So my first exposure to this was I upgraded my Google Suites Enterprise account, and I decided I wanted to get DKIM enabled on a bunch of my domains that I own, which I have too many of them. But DKIM is a thing, and so I had to go do that. And so I said, Google, give me my record for DKIM, and I go put a text record into my Route 53 to authorize the DKIM and to start authenticating the email. This should be 5 seconds of work. So you hit the console and you see the list of. Let me actually walk you through this. Let me log into the console.
It's good if he's like, no.
Oh my God, this is
I'm
just
gonna-
pure pain.
I'm gonna
It
do
must
it.
have been.
Yeah. Yeah, you can hear the hurt.
Cue the
And I
Sun Valley music.
picture a lot of steps, and I picture it with each step being highly graphically intensive, and in between each one, a little timer circling, waiting for the next page to load.
Do you have to type, yes, I really want to create an alias record?
Yeah, please create the name of the record that you want.
Well, hold on, I'm MFA because I'm secure. Here, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to make a joke about how, what doesn't change, which is, the Terraform provider code. But that was after fighting with provider code issues from the 3.0 release all week. So I can't even make that joke.
Oh man.
Everything's breaking. Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, when you hit Route 53 console, it gives you the new console by default. It's not an opt-in. It's just, so your first page is very similar to what you've always had. DNS management, availability monitoring, traffic management, domain registrations. This isn't terrible. It's a little wonky. It's a little bit too much cluttery, but whatever. It's here. So I go into hosted zones. I get a list of 12 hosted zones, just in a list. And there's a search here, and that's all fine. So I go to my first domain, the cloudpod.net here, and I say, I'd like to. I go into it and I get this nice hosted zone details. It tells me the hosted zone ID, tells me the public hosted zone and the name servers for this and how many records I have. And then I have below that a list of all of the records. And there's a search box, which is nice because search was a bit of a challenge in the old console. But I say I want to create record, and it takes me to a whole new screen, and it tells me first choose my routing policy, and I have 6 boxes to choose from: a simple routing policy, a weighted routing policy, geolocation policy, a latency one, failover, and multi-value answers. And all I want is a text record. So first of all, I'm like, okay, that's a simple routed one. But it took me more seconds than I care to admit that it took to work through this page of words. And they all these Route 53 logos too. It's great. So then it goes, you hit next, and it comes to a new screen that says simple routing records to add to to the cloudpod.net. And it says, I can define a simple record. And I click this box, and it brings up another window. And it has record name. Well, I don't want a record name because this is a text value that's going to be at the root. So there's another box below which says value route traffic to, which is choose endpoint, because, of course, I haven't chosen anything other than an A record. And then below that is a record type A. And I can select on that record text. So the problem is then you go back up to record name and you type in text, or leave it blank if you're doing blank, and then value route traffic to. Excuse me, I'm doing a text record, folks. There is no value to route traffic to. So that's a weird thing. So I had to click this drop-down box, and in this drop-down box, it gives me IP address or another value depending on the record type, or alias to another record in this hosted zone, or a bunch of other grayed out things I can't choose. Which of those is a text record? IP address? No.
None of the above.
It's not an alias.
None of the
So it's
above.
or another value depending on the record type. Seriously? And then that goes back to the original box and makes a really huge text box that I can now type into. And then I can basically I hit define simple record instead of just save. And then it goes back to the configure records. Now, this is where the kind of the plus is that I can create multiple records and I can submit them as one change, which is kind of nice. But man, that was a lot of clicks just to add a simple record. And then I hit create records and it will create it. And it'll take you back to the thing. So that's the new FFT3 console. And it's defaulted now on for all of my accounts at my day job and my personal accounts. And as soon as I hit this window now, I'm hitting use the old record. And literally it went from 5 seconds of work to add a DKIM record to at least 30 seconds of me puzzled through this every time. So I don't know who designed this. I'm sure you're a very lovely human, that you've done a lot of work, but usability studying would have been required, which I don't think you did because I wouldn't have designed it this way.
I'm more afraid that they did the usability study, but everyone in there had no clue how DNS worked or
Yeah, really.
And
Or maybe they confused
Understand.
they did the usability study, but they were supposed to be usability studying the Lightsail DNS page, not the Route 53 one.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of what it feels like for me.
Was there a little cPanel logo on this page anywhere? No.
There's no signal panel, right? That might make it better though, because I've used cPanel. I can admit, in my past lives, and adding a DNS record was not as complicated as that was. So that's an upgrade.
Cough, cough.
But there you go.
Infrastructure as code.
Yeah. So it just forces me to do like more and more Terraform work when the old console dies away. But sometimes you just want to do a quick record. I don't want to go write Terraform code. I don't want to do a Terraform plan right now. And instead, when next time I go down and sit down to modify this account, when I do my first Terraform plan, I'll say I'm going to delete all these records, and I'll be like, oh yeah, wait, I need to fix that, and then I'll fix it properly. But
You could just get
that's
a
my
couple
typical
little CLI-based update bash scripts and just do it with a command line.
yeah, I could do that too. But then that still would be, but that's just as much work as just fixing it in the Terraform code.
yeah, the command line's a little clunky too. At least like the last time I tried to use it for like.
Because I think the command line there's a skeleton record you have to download and then
Yes.
apply the template and then reapply the skeleton as part of my commit. That's a little wonky.
A little bash
It is a
script.
little wonky.
Little bash script.
You just want
Reusable.
like create an A record, create a text record. This is not that hard. Like
Yeah, exactly.
nope.
So there you go. That's my rant for the week. I wanted to share with you.
That's
I
fair.
bitch about this on Twitter as well because it was bad.
That's fair. The SQS console's been annoying me the last couple of weeks because I've been checking regularly on the length of these queues, and every single time I visit the page, it shows me the what's new screen instead of the list of queues. It's just, I know it's only one click, but it's one click. However many times I've visited the console, I
Yeah.
just want to see the list of queues.
It's what you get. It's what you get for using it. It's like your punishment.
I'm seeing that pattern more and more. It's very frustrating.
Get me started.
Well, this old curmudgeon's done for the day.
Good job.
I'm gonna wrap this up after I complained about Rafa D3 console, which was very pleasurable. I feel better about it now that I've done
you?
it.
Do you feel
too.
okay?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. But then I look forward to you guys complaining to me about it later when you forget about this and you go stumble onto the new console and you're like, oh my god, this is awful.
Oh, I did immediately after your Twitter rant. I was like, I gotta see, like, because you don't get upset, or at least to that level, about like trivial things. And so I went and like, oh no, it's really bad.
It's bad.
This is
Bad. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week in the cloud. Have a great week. We'll see you here next week at the Cloud Pod.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
And that is the Week in Cloud. We would like to thank our sponsors, Foghorn Consulting and Commvault. Check out our website, the home of the Cloud Pod, where you can join our newsletter, Slack team, send feedback, or ask questions at thecloudpod.net, or tweet us with hashtag #TheCloudPod.